死なないために死ぬほど準備することなんて絵に秘めあらたことでしょう。光栄だけど買いかぶりっすよ。
Hello guys, it's me Simo Orahara, and in this video we're going to talk about the Bankai of Zaraki in Koryashiki. What if a fight occurred between them? How would it have been? I have never thought about this topic before, but one of the viewers put this comment and he was asking me to make a video about this possibility. And I liked the idea. Actually, I said, what if a fight occurred between these two beasts? How would it be? First of all, I'm preparing a long video about 7th Kenpachi in which I will explain in detail how Zaraki's power works, because understanding Zaraki's power will enable many to understand his fights. Secondly, what if I told you that technically there is a possibility for this fight to happen, a fight between 7th Kenpachi and Koryashiki Kenpachi. Although the possibility is relatively small, but it remains possible, especially after Kobo released the one-shot chapter of Hell. So now we know that the captains who died were casted to Hell, and this is confirmed. I mean, we have seen the Shikai of Okitaki coming from the gate of Hell, and what we're sure of it is that Yamamoto, Unohana and Okitaki are in Hell because they were exposed to the Konsorisai ritual after 12 years of their death. Of course, it is known that this ritual is mandatory ritual. It must be done for every dead captain. Otherwise, the concentration of Reishi will keep flowing in the Soul Society, and this shouldn't happen. And since Koryashiki, the 7th Kenpachi, was killed by Adajiro Soya, and he was killed in the Soul Society and in the presence of both Kyoraku and more than 200 officers, there is no doubt that the latter was exposed to the Konsorisai ritual. Therefore, he is also in Hell. Anyway, the possibility that Zaraki will fight Koryashiki, it depends mainly on the possibility that the captains who are in Hell will have other personalities different from the ones we used to know, and thus become the enemies of the arc. Of course, I am completely against this idea and I have already talked about it, but in order to put a good context for this battle between these two monsters, let us borrow this possibility that the personalities of some captains have changed to the evil side because of the fact that they are in Hell. For example, some of them will want to get out of Hell, and this is itself will aggravate the state of balance of the woods, which is currently disturbed by the disappearance of Ryatsu of both Yuhabach and Aizen Sosuke. So, for example, in a scenario, Ichigo may go again to Hell with some captains this time, for several reasons, including stopping some captains from getting out of Hell. And in the land of Hell, where will the great battle be? Between Zaraki and Koryashiki. Unfortunately, in the one shot of Hell, Kobo didn't show us the world of Hell. We have only seen the big gate and some other small gates that looks like jaws, and therefore in this video I will rely on some information about Hell that was mentioned in the 4th movie. Like for example, Hell consists of 4 levels, and the fact that Hell makes the person easy for him to use all his hidden abilities. And this is what we have seen with Ichigo when he entered Hell. We saw how his mask was forming on his face without even asking for it. So I thought that if Zaraki was going to Hell to face the 7th Kenpachi, he would probably find him at the 4th level, and that level would be good place to see the 7th Kenpachi's Bankai due to its massiveness. Also, Hell would be a perfect place to see the full power of Zaraki in the Bankai mode. We're talking about Zaraki 12 years after his first release of Bankai, and the first time Zaraki wasn't able to control his Bankai. Therefore, I think that Zaraki is currently able to use his Bankai in this form without the problem of losing his consciousness. However, it can be difficult in Hell because the environment of this world helps to bring out all the brute power of the person. Thus, Zaraki will be an affront of a strong battle test. On the other hand, we don't know if Koryashiki will look like we saw in the sketch of the novel or what we saw in the game BLEACH Brave Souls. We have seen that there have been several changes to Zairo Apuro, the 8th Espada. For example, the hole that distinguishes the hollows does not return inside their bodies but becomes outside it. Of course, we're talking about a guilty person here. He was thrown into Hell, but Koryashiki is not, so I don't know what his shape and the nature of his powers will be in that world. But from what appears, the captains keeps their Shinigami powers. And the proof of this is Okitaki's attack on Zaido Apuro when he stabbed him with his Shikai. What I can't determine also is Koryashiki's power. Will his power in Hell increase, or will it remain as it was when he was alive in the Soul Society? Anyway, I'll base my assumption on the basis of what we know about Koryashiki in the novel. What we know for sure, he is strong and he has kept his title for hundreds of years, and he received an unofficial invitation from Zero Squad to join them, but he refused it. He also possesses a Bankai that can be determined as a weapon of mass destruction, which is one of the important parts of this video. Koryashiki's Bankai is a powerful jaw that comes out of the ground and devours everything. And this is the main important information that we know. But we don't know how he can control this power of his Bankai and how it works. For example, how many fangs come out of the ground and form the jaw? What is the hardness of this jaw? Is this jaw really capable of causing harm to people with high physical stamina and strong Ryatsu? Because guys, we almost agree that the Bankai is powerful and dangerous. The Bankai is capable of killing thousands of people in a blink of an eye. Of course, this is normal as long as these are people who may be ordinary souls or even officers, maybe some vice captain, maybe some captains. And for these facts, Rome 46 forbade Koryashiki to release the Bankai inside the city. But I really wonder how effective the Bankai in front of people with mighty Ryatsu, especially if the Bankai focuses its power on the first attack, meaning the Zanpakuto turns into a huge jaw that comes out of the ground and devours everything in one bite and then disappears. Or it may continue to devour what is between his jaw for a certain moment, while Koryashiki is somewhere inside the jaw or outside it. Because in my opinion, the worst opponent that Koryashiki could meet is Zaraki Kenpachi. Why? First, Zaraki is one of the owners of a great Ryatsu. I'm putting Zaraki among the trio that possesses an unparalleled Ryatsu, and they are Aizen, Soseki, Ichigo, Kurosaki, and Zaraki Kenpachi. And the Ryatsu, which is in fact, it gives the body of Zaraki a shield against the strongest abilities. For example, in the novel Spirits Are Forever With You, Thien, who is a copy of the 8th Espada, tried to attack Zaraki using the ability of Teatro de Titere, the same ability that the 8th Espada used against Yuryu, Rinji, and Mayuri, and we've seen how this ability had a serious injuries on them. However, do you know what happened to Zaraki when Thien tried to do the same thing with him? Zaraki's internal organs were not damaged, and Thien has found that Zaraki's organs were harder than steel. Even the Sita Yogo technique with which Asashiro Soya killed the 7th Kenpachi didn't work with Zaraki. This technique, which is based mainly on exploding the opponents from the inside. Asashiro Soya couldn't do it against Zaraki because the body of Zaraki was too hard to activate that technique. Third, we notice how Zaraki was not eliminated by the space technique that Gurimi used against him. And this technique is almost similar to Koryashiki's Bankai in terms of how it works. For this reason, it can be said that Zaraki is one of the few characters that are difficult to cut or activate abilities on them. On the other hand, Zaraki's offensive power is terrifying. The man has the ability to cut anything. When Zaraki attacked Asashiro Soya and learned that the latter was merging with the air, Zaraki said, "Then I have just to cut the air to defeat you." And before his true power was revealed, Zaraki defeated Noichura with the Kendo style and with one hit. But when the seals that were on his power removed, Zaraki moved to another level of power. He turned Grimmi's miniature into pieces by Nozarashi. Thus, anyone who has read deeply the fights of Zaraki will know for sure that he is the worst possible opponent of the 7th Kenpachi's Bankai, because Zaraki's Bankai basically gives him a frightening offensive power. With his fangs he was able to remove the arm of the giant Gerard, and with his sword he was able to break his shield. And more than that, Zaraki's Bankai gives Zaraki high maneuverability, and I think this is the point that will play in favor of Zaraki against Koryashiki. Why? Just imagine with me that Zaraki is at the 4th level of Hell, As we said, the place there will give Zaraki the opportunity to reveal all his potential, and Koryashiki may have a positive feature that we'll know as long as he already in hell. But the only way for Koryashiki to defeat Zaraki, in my opinion, is to attack him by releasing the Bankai without Zaraki moving from his place, or using his Ryatsu to block the attack, or using the Bankai, in the sense that the attack should be surprising, because in this way Ichigo was able to defeat Zaraki, and I'll talk about this fight in detail in my upcoming videos. Aroi did the same. A sudden attack with brute force is the only weapon to make Zaraki down. But here is the question: does Koryashiki have the power to make it happen? I don't think so. In the novel, Koryashiki was defeated by Asashiro Soya using Setai Yugo, a technique that did not work against Zaraki, and that shows just how much Zaraki's physical strength stronger than Koryashiki's. So I imagine the battle like this. After the two opponents met, Zaraki is going to smile as always. He is in hell, and that's the perfect place for a battle. After a few seconds, he will feel the ground shake under his feet as the 7th Kenpachi is getting ready to release his Bankai. There where Zaraki will know for sure that hell is not a place for play, and that he must fight with all his might. At the same time, both Zaraki and Koryashiki will pronounce the word Bankai. Zaraki's skin will quickly turn red as horns will form on his head and grow taller as the atmosphere of hell will help Zaraki to release his entire Ryatsu without any seals, while the 7th Kenpachi will show the first Bankai fangs trying to penetrate Zaraki's body. Other great-sized fangs will appear from everywhere to cover a vast expanse of Hellland. And here where Zaraki's Bankai speed will play a good role. I don't know how many fangs are in the big jaw of Koryashiki's Bankai, but there is no doubt that it will be an incalculable number. So Zaraki, if he wants to survive, he will have to avoid the fangs that will come out from the ground, as well as cut the rest with his sword. So I expect that Zaraki will be in a forest of fangs that he must fight and cut in order to reach Koryashiki. Zaraki will be forced to use all his abilities to the fullest extent possible, especially the Ryatsu, in order to protect him from the pressure of the jaw. Thus I say Zaraki may be able with his first strike to remove many fangs from his path. Of course, some fangs will be able to make some injuries to Zaraki, but as I said, Zaraki's Ryatsu will be a shield so that he doesn't need to suffer any fatal injuries. And so the battle will be long if Koryashiki's Bankai jaw is solid enough for Zaraki to find it difficult to cut. That's why I said, if Koryashiki doesn't have another weapon to defend himself, he will find Zaraki coming out of the last defense of the fangs to cut him. In the end, what I'm sure about is that Koryashiki wouldn't be able to kill Zaraki with his Bankai. Zaraki would survive if he faced this Bankai, for the reason that I have just said. Because Zaraki has the power to survive from such Bankai, but is he able to continue the fight and get Koryashiki? As I told you, this is up to how much stronger the jaw of Koryashiki to keep him away from Zaraki. So guys, tell me your opinion about this fight, and see you guys in my next video.